Happy VA Wednesday. So today we're going to talk about some of the silly reasons that people's VA loans are declined and why I would always say, look, if you're getting declined by another lender, hit me up, call me and the team, tell us what's going on, because in a lot of cases, we can step in and get you to the finish line, okay? I'm gonna give you that number now, 786-933-2077. Don't call us blindly. You know, look, I'm ranked the #1 VA loan officer in the country. I'm gonna say in the world, in the country. And we have lots of reviews, so you can verify. Anyways, why am I saying this? We save a lot of loans. Like seriously, it's one of the things we do is we save veterans who are about to get declined or have been declined when in all honesty, they never should have been. So let me talk about some of the common reasons that veterans get declined when they should not be. Number one, the loan officer doesn't know how to do VA. So we've seen stuff as ridiculous as an active duty member where the loan officer wasn't counting BAH. Okay, that's crazy. You always count BAH. You know, I've had veterans call me and say, hey, the lender said I couldn't use VA disability. Yeah, you can, and we gross it up. You know, there's a lot of lenders that really don't know how to do VA, and it's unfortunate, right? It is one of those programs though, where if you read the guidelines, it's not necessarily gonna give you the best idea of how to do it. It's a gray program where you really have to do it and do it and do it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of lenders that are like, oh, I'm a VA expert. Or you may call a big company that has something military and you're like, oh, well, they do all these loans. But the person who's structuring your loan, they could be new. They could not know what they're doing, right? So that's a big one we see is usually just the loan officer doesn't know how to structure the loan or they don't know VA guidelines, number one. Number two, we'll see that a loan officer just gives up on the file, okay? And that's something that drives me nuts because it's like, look, if I'm talking to someone and they've been declined by another lender, one of the things I'm gonna be trying to figure out real quick is, can I do this loan? And if you've ever had one of those conversations with me, I'm intense. I drill. You know, I'm like, okay, what about this? 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 I've had loans that we've closed literally just because the other lender said, we can't use your income. And I talked to them on the phone and I'm like, oh, I can use it. I just have to do this, this, and this, right? It's like, it's a mindset. Right? There's some people where if something's like a little bit challenging, they're like, I can't do it. Whereas I'm like, hey, like, okay, what are the parameters? You know, even if it's more work, can I do it? Now look, is there some income that we can't count? Yeah, there is. And I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna say, I can't count this, this is why, right? But that's one of the things is we'll see loan officers throw in the towel on stuff that's totally doable just because of their mindset or because they just wanna churn. You know, they just want to get, I need as many clients as possible. They don't stop and go, whoa, whoa, we can do this, okay? The second reason is overlays, and this is a big thing. So VA itself, the guidelines are pretty vague. I'll be blunt, they're vague. VA doesn't have a minimum credit score. VA doesn't have a debt to income restriction. You know, VA, you can do manual underwrites. There are some restrictions on that, but overall, it's a very flexible program, right? The whole goal is to help veterans get into houses. However, certain lenders have different overlays. Once upon a time, when I was much younger, oh my God, lender years especially, it's like dog years, I worked at a bank. And at this bank, no matter what, on VA, your debt to income could not be over 43%. I was a baby, new in the industry, so I'm like, you can't go over that. And I had brokers screaming at me, being like, you can. I'm like, no, you can't. That's the thing. The bank didn't want to do any VA loans if the debt to income was over 43. Is that a real thing? Just for that bank, right? That's the thing. And you'll see this with credit scores. You know, you'll see some of the really big people in the industry are like, oh, you need to work with our special program that's like a beacon of light, you know, to bring you home. Did you like that wink? I'm terrible at it. I'll work on it. Anyways, to hit this certain credit score. Well, that certain credit score is their overlay. You know, right now where I work, we don't have a minimum credit score. However, there's always a however. Here's the thing. What I have found is that if your credit score is under 600, you're likely gonna need a manual underwrite, which we do. With a manual underwrite, no lates within a year, okay? If there's like one thing, maybe, but if it's a mortgage late or something else, no. But that's our overlay. right? Like I have a friend where sometimes he can get stuff through that I can't. So if it's something where I hear the situation and I'm like, oh, I know I can't do it, but I have a friend that will, I'm always happy to give out that name and that number, because the bottom line is, guys, I want you to get home, right? If it makes sense, if there's a way to do it, if there's someone that can get you there, let's get you there, you know? And there's a lot of lenders where if they can't do it, they just go, yep, you're gonna have to come back. You know, I'm not like that. Like there's certain stuff where it's like, look, like I don't have any way to do this and I don't know anyone that does. Here's what you need to do to get to the finish line. But if I know there's someone that might be able to do it, of course, I'll give you their number. Right now, we are doing quite a bit of stuff. Okay, so we covered structuring, the loan officer not knowing what they're doing. We covered the loan officer just being lazy and giving up. And then we also talked about overlays, how companies make up guidelines. That's something you really need to watch out for, because you'll hear from someone, and look, when the loan officer is telling you this, you may be like, they lied to my face. They may not know better, right? They may be like me when I was a baby at that bank where they said nothing over 43, and I was like, you can't do it, right? Oh, so cute, so young, so demure. What is it, so demure? Anyways, so look, be aware of that. That's why you want to check in if you get declined to see if you got declined for a real reason. One of the things that I heard in 23 that made me really sad is, you know, I had someone calling me and they're like, yeah, I want to refi. I finally got my credit up. And I'm like, your credit's fine. What was your credit before? And they told me, and I'm like, that was fine too. I'm like, did you talk to us? No, I talked to this other company in 21 about refining, but they said my credit had to be, if you know where rates are 21 versus 23, it's like, oh my gosh, like if you had just called another lender, you could have gotten that sweetheart of a rate. That's why you want to check in, guys, because sometimes you're giving up good stuff because you're not checking another lender. The other thing is, and it kind of goes back to laziness again, but knowing what you can fight for as a lender. So for instance, you know, if a VA appraisal comes back, if it's health and safety, that's gonna have to be fixed. But if there's some nickel dime items, there's a lot of loan officers that think you have to fix it. You don't, that's the thing. So a borrower can write a letter to VA, we can take it to VA, and in many cases, VA will waive those items, right? So we're happy to do that work. We're happy to give the veteran the option. There's a lot of loan officers that don't know that that exists, or they go, oh, I heard VA doesn't approve it, right? I know they do, we do it a lot, but you're in a position now where you're trying to buy this house and the appraiser's saying you have to fix all this stuff and the seller's not gonna fix it. You cancel on the house, whereas potentially you could have just talked to another lender who said, hey, write this little letter, I'll send it to VA, and it's a different ball game, right? It's stuff like that. You know, we had one that we took from a very big lender, and this is where it sucks too. It sucks if a lender, you know, declines you like a week before closing. That's the worst. So this borrower was declined because of the property, and the property was fine. It was totally fine. That's the funny thing. So the underwriter was going off of a guideline that's like 6 years old, but the guideline had been updated and they didn't realize that. So even though, you know, the buyer's like, can't you do this? You know, Jen's saying she can do it. Why can't you do it? They're like, she doesn't know what she's doing. No, my underwriter just knows the new guidelines. Closed, right? So look, here's the thing. There's a lot of great lenders in the VA space that know what they're doing, are really good, are not going to be lazy. It can be hard to figure out who's who, right? So the key of this video is this. If you get declined, don't give up on your dream of home ownership. Check in with us. And look, I will be the first person to say, yeah, like you got to get your stuff together. You know, if it's something where it's seriously problematic, I will not, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to BS you. I'm going to tell you the legit truth. But if it's something where I'm like, we can do this, let's go, let's go. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful, but I can't stress it enough. Always get a second opinion, especially in VA. There's so many different ways that lenders look at VA loans, also the level of experience of the loan officer, but also the processors. That's the thing. The processors, the underwriters, if you're working with a company where they don't really do that much VA, like best of luck. Best of luck, because it is a niche product. So questions, comments, as always, feel free to reach out. I will stop clapping because I'm sure that's annoying. But look, I'm here to support you guys and help you get home. Thanks for watching.